Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Good Morning Education Show. My name is Rotimi Aita. It's such a pleasure to be here and to have you join us on the show today. And I hope you had a great weekend. I hope you had a restful weekend. We're streaming from Lagos, Nigeria, to West Africa, to Africa, and the entire world. This is the Good Morning Education, and you can always catch us Mondays to Fridays, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. West African time. And on weekends, we have what we call the weekend special. And you can catch us 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. For the weekend special on Saturdays, and on Sundays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. as well. And on the show, we always have wonderful conversation, insights, topics, issues that we treat. Actually, is a wide range of conversation and topics. And we try as much as possible to tackle issues within and around the world of education to bring you value, to bring you information, to get you informed. And as we do that, we make sure that we learn together, we share together, and we grow together. On the show, we have experts and analysts who join us from time to time, and they bring their 2 cents, they share their worldview, they share their thoughts and pattern on the conversation of the matter on the day. And that also helps us to have a better perspective. Today, we will also be having that, I believe, and also we try as much as possible to ensure that we have the necessary information, the necessary information that will help us, that will propel us, on the show. We also have on the Good Morning Education show, highlights. We have highlights that help us to understand what to expect. I'm going to give you a video break, and we will be right back. And when we come back, we'll get into the meat of the matter. We'll take a headline or two, and we will go to the topic of today. Today, we'll be speaking on repositioning your brand. Repositioning your brand. I'm sure you don't want to go anywhere. Stay tuned. We will be right back. Thank you very much. You welcome back to the Good Morning Education Show, and we are here, we are live, we are direct. And as I said earlier during the introduction, I said we're going to be talking about repositioning your brand. Repositioning your brand. This is very important from different perspectives. You would understand that a lot of people might take this as a personal application, and some other people might take a step further to look at it from the corporate angle. We all have brands, and we need to understand that there is a time where you would be expected, to take a step or a leap towards repositioning your brand, a step and a leap towards repositioning your brand. And that can only happen when you begin to see the need, when you begin to see several things that will trigger the effect on that. Everyone will need to understand when we want to define, what are brands, and how do brands come about. I think that you need to recognize that if you are looking at a brand, or you are looking at a person or an individual, you need to realize that it's based on the identity that you've represent, identity that you've carved, the representation of the value that you stand for is what actually captures the identity, or what we call the referencing. That's what a brand is. A brand is the sum total experience of your performance, your promise, your positioning, your potential, as both company or an individual. So which obviously tells us that we have individual brands, and we can equally say that we have corporate brands. So when you have individual brands, what it means is that individual brands is referencing the individual. But when we now go a step further to talk about corporate brands, then it's a different ballgame. A corporate brand is more of a brand, an organization, in collective, an enterprise, a company, not just one person, but a company in itself. But then let's go straight to the conversation so we don't waste much time today. Brand repositioning. What exactly does it mean? I feel that it's almost like when you say status, you want to change status, it's the same thing. And most of the time, the repositioning actually comes as a result of trying to meet up with some needs of the market, or some needs of the market, needs of customers, social reality in the ecosystem where we thrive. So positioning or repositioning is not just something that we do it because of something. There's something we are eyeing, there's something we are aiming at. And when we begin to understand that, based on that, we begin to shift. To reposition means to change position, to repeat position, to review position. And that's what brand repositioning is about. And if you're going to reposition your brand, especially in 2022, it must mean that there's probably something that you set before yourself, or there's something that you've discovered over a period of time that requires you to begin to shift, to begin to cause a repositioning to happen. And that is what it is. And it's done to keep things up. It's done to meet up with demands, And a lot of times it's not because you are failing, because a lot of people think that the moment a brand begins the journey to repositioning, they feel that there's something wrong. The brand, things like that. I totally do not believe that when you shouldn't even have that disposition that repositioning means failure. It shouldn't be. Repositioning does not necessarily mean failure. Repositioning can actually be for growth. It can be based on your targeted approach. It could be for a lot of things. So it will be wrong. It will be wrong for us to look at repositioning from the angle of or of just looking at it as, oh, there's a failed brand, or there's a failing brand. No, I think that we must look at it differently, And when we look at it differently, it gives us best of perspectives, That's my own take. And when we really, really, really want to go far, or we really, really want to project growth, there are certain things that we might need to look at, when it comes to that. So brand repositioning is a lot, and there are times that you find out that if the market behavior or the market trend has been compromised, where you do not seem to have the best of edge, then of course there might be need, for you to reposition. But then, of course, the question that might come to you, might be, okay, is brand repositioning the same thing as rebranding? Well, rebranding is not repositioning, right? To rebrand might just be a change in outlook. You want to do something that shows what your representations are new. You probably see that in the optics. Branding has to be labeled in the output that people can see. Even when it's inwardly, you're trying to make people see that, oh, our people are new, our people have a different color. So you can brand performance, you can brand presence. You see change of logos, you see change of color. Sometimes see those things easily. However, repositioning is a process of ensuring, that we are new, there is leverage, there is something that causes us to be much better, So, and this is very important for all of us to be informed about. Many people have asked questions, and I'm going to try to deal with that, on the show this morning. You might be asking as well the same question in your mind, because when you talk about repositioning, so many things come into people's head, but let me just welcome everyone who's joining to the show. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. Welcome to the Good Morning Education Show. We're talking about repositioning your brand, and of course, it's important for you to know what it is and what it means when we talk about repositioning, when we talk about brand repositioning. But let me just say this before I share with you 4 types of repositioning. I know that this is a question that would definitely, be in the minds of a lot of people. And when you ask, why do I need to reposition? Or better still, why do brands reposition in the education space as well? Is this applicable? Absolutely, repositioning is applicable to all sectors, all spheres. It's applicable to life. It's a lifelong concept, right? And when you look at it, when you find out that there is increased competition, you might need to reposition, right? When there is lack of perceived differentiation of brand, you might need to reposition. When the market has what you call market miseducation, you might need to reposition. All these are factors, all these are experiences, all these are areas, that give you what I will call the issue of change, the nature of change. This positions into a place where we need to articulate and be very firm at that to show that we are in need of a repositioning. I believe that repositioning is something that every professional, every enterprise head, every entrepreneur, and every business person must understand and embrace, because sometimes your market can shift, your market can shrink, your market can be static. And when there's something like that, you might need to position. The position where you function and have value might require you to move a bit into a position that makes you have advantage. I'm sure you've heard the word leverage before. Leverage most times is something that typifies, growth. Leverage for growth. So we must begin to ask ourselves, are we in a place of leverage? That's very, it's very important if we understand this concept absolutely. And still on repositioning, you might still be wondering, why should I reposition myself? If you've not been obvious, you've not been empathic, if your impact has been, when you have a, then the call for repositioning, right? And then, of course, you need to get to understand that there are different types of repositioning. I would like to share with us the types of positioning or repositioning on the show. The very first type of repositioning is what we call image repositioning. Image repositioning. It's just a shift. So your product is still the same, right? Your target market is still the same, but you are just making a change in your representation. I'm trying to see how to make this clear. Sometimes you could have a brand change the image. The product is the same. And when I say image, image can mean the color representation, how the brand looks. You understand? But it's still the same brand dwelling in the same market, and that's very important. However, the second type of repositioning is what we call product repositioning. The brand market is same. The brand market is same, but the product is different. It means that you are selling to the same market, but there's a tweak, there's a difference, there's been an adjustment, right, to the product itself. And that definitely means that as individuals, we need to begin to ask ourselves, could it be that it is the product that needs repositioning? Could it be that is the image that needs repositioning? Because sometimes a lot of people total or summarize or put everything together and say, you know what, I want to change what I'm doing because they feel that this is not working. And unfortunately, most of these people, they tend to miss out on a lot of good. they miss out on a lot of good because of this. And this is something that people need to be informed about. A lot of changes must occur, as opposed to you just totally saying that, well, things are not good, you pack it up. What exactly are you dealing with? Then the third part is what I call the tangible repositioning. Tangible repositioning. This is where the product is different, the market is different. It's almost like a quick departure from what you've always been doing, from what is always been obtainable. And then there is the fourth one in repositioning, tangible repositioning. And the intangible repositioning, this is a situation where the market is different, but the product is the same. The same product, different markets. That's a lot of penetration and entry strategy that is required. So these are things that these are things that you need to know, because each element of repositioning speaks to us differently, and a lot of people might begin to see why they probably are succeeding, in a particular endeavor, and they might be able to trace out the issues, and they begin to realize that they are experiencing the shift, that they really, really need to. All right. I'm going to welcome Pwachom this morning. Good morning, Pwachom. Thank you for joining. Welcome to the Good Morning Education Show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Been a while. All right.
Yes, it's
We're
okay.
talking today about repositioning your brand. Repositioning your brand. I'm sure you know it's an interesting topic. A lot of people probably would have one time or the other thought about something around this, and unfortunately, everybody has understanding of the dynamics of it. So let me ask you, what's your own idea and what's your own perspective of repositioning your brand? Over to you.
Okay. Okay, this is a very interesting topic. Repositioning your brand. From my own understanding, I believe when you want to reposition your brand, it means like is you've grown to a certain level and you want to take your business to another level. I came across something that said you as your personal brand, if you stop growing, everything around you dies. And that really caught my mind, especially with business. Like repositioning your brand, like, oh, it's actually true. You just have to keep growing continually. And that means like putting yourself in a different position where you want to gain visibility. It all depends on what you want to gain, though, especially. But I think we all constantly have to reposition ourselves, especially where we have a goal or a target. So you repackage yourself. Even big shots, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, all of them, they reposition their brand from what we see from time to time. So it comes in different ways. So my understanding is okay, you have a goal you want to achieve. You've been growing and you don't want to stay stagnant, and you tell yourself it's time to reposition. It's trying to change myself from position A to position B. And the question is, how do I do it? It's not just about reaching there. I mean, the question is not about being in that location. Sorry, it's about how do I reach there. So that to me is like that goal you want to achieve. Does it mean you have to change what where you are? Because it's a continual growth mindset. That's how I see it, especially when you have a certain goal or something you want to achieve. So for me, like reposition is a lot. I think the word cannot just be circled on one thing like I'm saying, but it circles around a lot. It really circles around, especially your brand, especially where you know where you're heading and you're particular about, okay, this is the goal I want. What do I do to take myself from here to this place? How do I go about it? How can I achieve it? And do I need to leave this location or do I need to change myself and all? I that's what I'll have to say though.
Thank you very much. Because this is actually why um, a lot of people experience what you call profitless pursuits. You know, um, they don't seem to see any fish in their sea. And sometimes unnecessary hardship, are being encountered by a lot of beautiful, wonderful, enterprising young people. They go into business, they go into industry, and then they find there's what we call a roadblock. And that roadblock sometimes does not mean that they should just jump out, quit, and look for another profitable venture. What makes something able to profit? The way we use the word profitable. Profitable means ability to profit. It means that we've been able to ask ourselves, is our pursuit well positioned? You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
We must we must think about it. And before you joined, I was sharing with people four types of repositioning. And maybe I should try to reiterate that so that you understand, you know. And I'd like to thank John for joining, and for those who are joining a location where you're streaming from, and I'd like for joining as well. I said earlier that there are four types. There are four types. And you must understand these types of positioning. I think we need to dwell on it very well. And maybe I'll ask you questions as we look at it. I said the first type of position and repositioning is what we call repositioning, image repositioning. Now, what exactly do we mean by image repositioning, right? Um, Let me just type it out there. Image repositioning, right? It simply means that you have a situation, right, that brings about same target market, right? Same product, just a change or switch in image. You understand what I'm trying to say? Just so it's like sometimes you see some carbonated drinks, right? Where um they just change the look. Do you get? They change the
Yeah, I
look,
guess.
image. You see, let me make you laugh. I think some years ago, I'm not going to mention the brand's name, um, but there was image repositioning, which the brand went on the right, and I remember that because the brand had a new can, and the people out in the market began to definitely they have the old products in circulation. So people began to share pictures on social media and said that if you don't know, there's what we call a fake malt in town, because they took the picture of the new can and the old one, and I said that if you drank this, then you are taking um adulterated products, stuff like that. So a friend of mine, very popular person, happened to see that advert, and he just drank a can of malt of the image that was shared around. And all of a sudden, it began to have tummy ache. All of a sudden, he started going to the restroom. It was so bad that he was out his friends are falling victim. But that thing is true. You guys don't take malt that has this type of can. It's true. There's killer malt outside. Because got the long story short. By the time they now brought it to public's attention that they just changed, it's still the same malt. And nothing, it's just a
Just
change
the image
where
change.
they rebranded the can. Same image. I mean, same product, same
Same
market
product.
target, but different image. Do you know that it was actually there was nothing all that tummy ache was psychological. His mind caused him.
Yeah.
So that's the same thing.
Yeah, it was.
We need people to recognize that in repositioning brand, it might just be image. Sometimes a bit of polishing of an image can accelerate acceptance in the market. Sometimes a bit of polishing or a bit of change in outlook in an image can reintroduce you. There are people who do fantastic things, but all they just need to do is have an image overhaul. And once that happens, guess what? Boom, it looks like they did something unimaginable. You know, just decided to use it. I did not want to use it. Lolani, you're your own. Welcome, Dr. Dairy at Dairy Soladio. How are you? Not Dairy, hey, cover your eyes, cover your face. Cover your face first. You know that I will do it. How are you? Good morning.
Fine. And you? Hello?
I'm very well. I'm very well. All right. So we're talking about types of repositioning. So there's the image repositioning of a brand, and that just has to do with a change in the look. It's still the same market you're serving. It's still the same product that you're serving as well that you're offering. However, there's a difference when you now have what you call product repositioning. Now, when it gets to product repositioning, the market is the same. However, the product has now changed. A different product, but the same target market. And that means that you are trying to propose something else, you know, either because there's higher competition, there's a switch in demand. And in some cases, the product change does not necessarily mean a total categorization. Sorry, a total shift. It could just be a categorization. Let me use Joel's example. Sometimes you could have, I remember, I don't know if you guys remember the time that, when I was much younger, it's now that it doesn't look different. When I was much younger, there was a time that you have, I think, 1.5 liter or 2 liter carbonated drink when we're used to 35 cl. And then you look at it, most times it's Christmas time, they used to bring that thing out. So everybody's excited. You're drinking from a bigger plastic bottle, you know. That's a different product, even though it's the same market. And in some cases, it might be a major departure where you are not necessarily having the same product. I know I was going through Jerry Solar's post on Facebook. That was, I think, yesterday. And yes, I've been monitoring you there, so don't smile like that. I was going through a post and I was just smiling as she was making a narration on Instagram as well. The narration about profile and all that. I was just laughing and she used an example of something. And coming back to it, it still comes back to where you are now offering the public a separate kind of product, even though you're still speaking to the same type of market. That is what we mean by product differentiation. Now, a lot of people, however, guess what? They suffer growth issues because probably all they needed to do was to do what we call product differentiation. And I'd like to hear from Darren. Darren is not denied. Let's hear from you. Darren, let's talk about that product repositioning.
Wow. It's amazing how you can, I say, reposition. I always say, in fact, the most interesting one is an existing product. Let's put it that way, an existing product. And I will talk from my own point of view, for instance. I remember when I first created like this particular product on profiling. I didn't create it as a single product. I created it as part of another product because I wanted to like create the like entire package first. But even from the word go, when I was creating it, I knew I was going to create like, let me say 10 products out of a single product. Why? The people that those things like, these are things that people could need separately. And that's what people don't understand sometimes. Sometimes when you bundle things up or you create like a single product, and people start to probably give you testimonials about a single part of that product, or like, let me say different parts. It simply means that they are achieving results in those various parts. So it's now left for you to now think about it. Who are the people that are achieving results most in this particular section? Who are the people that are achieving results most in that particular section? So when I looked at my A to Z of winning global opportunities online course as a whole, as in first things first, I had to separate them into two major aspects, which was the rule of attraction and the rule of application. Applying and attracting are two different ball games, and they target two different markets completely, because someone who is trying to attract is probably older, has the money to pay for my service and all those things, to teach them these strategies, a strategy. Whereas someone that is applying needs to probably learn skills on how to apply. So one of the first things that I thought about was, okay, now that I have a product, as in a big product, I could create sub-products from it. And that is when you now start to think about, and one of the mistakes many people make when they are probably reproposing a product is because they think that they had results before, or they like it's a product or it's a thing as part of another product. They forget that they need to probably create another customer avatar and create all those things again and create a different strategy to push that product. The one luck you already have is that you have results from that product, even if it was not that product and go, but you have results based on what you would still like teach in that product. So you already have results, but don't get it twisted. You will still need to go through the same process of the same way you push a new product when you're trying to reposition an existing product, or you're trying to carve out a product from a product, whatever. You still have to do the same thing, as in the same pushing, the same energy, the same everything needs to go into it, because it is now you are targeting different people. For me now, I'm not targeting professionals, whereas last year I was making a lot of noise about youth. But for this specific one, it is like I'm targeted towards thought leaders, professionals, or people that have something in the social good space and all that. So it means that I have to keep my mind on those people. What are their likes? What are their dislikes and everything like that? And please, let's always remember, in us reproposing or rebranding or whatever, we should remember that we are solution providers. So whatever it is you're doing, when you are rebranding, I think you should probably focus more on, who owns this problem? Who has a Panadol problem of this particular thing, right? Who has the Panadol problem? And that is the thing that should probably hold on to when you are rebranding. Don't rebrand for, so I see some people rebranding aesthetics, color, which is all good. But I always say, like, nobody cares about your colors until you are doing something for them. A product is always about the customer you are doing something for, and that is what they will give you money for. So don't get it twisted about rebranding and it is about colors and all those things. Nah, it's about the solution, as in how best you are attacking that customer's problem, as in how best it's like you should refine your products in such a way that it's now like, let me say, solve their problem like bam, at a glance is solving their problem. So you should be highlighting how that thing is solving their problem more now, not the colors and all those things.
Thank you so much. Joel Olani was saying, I hear you, Derry. Yeah, you're having plenty fans, And while you were speaking, Olushola Olumide joined us since today. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the show.
Yes, good morning, Rotimi. Good morning, Dr. Deering. I didn't see the name of this or the analyst. Yes, a nice one there, at least. That's what? Okay, question. Oh, Happy New Year to you. Nice to see you. Welcome back.
See you, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
So
Good
I
morning,
think,
sir.
thank you. Want to pick it from what I met Dr. Deering talking about. I think she has to say that over and over again because when you talk about branding, the first thing that comes to mind is how to blend, add color on top of pink and whatever. And I think a whole lot of people, why? Fine, it is good to advertise and be strategic in the way you push out whatever. But if we make so much noise only for us to gain little from that product, I guess it's going to be counterproductive. And anybody who gets disappointed, it will only take the grace of God for that person not to paint you black everywhere he or she sees anything that resonates with your name or anything that calls your brand out. So I think developing a solution is great, and giving greater value, making it seamless and making it better. Of course, the great brands we celebrate or that is known globally, you can see the transition in over the years from where they started from and how they are improving their processes, their products, making it simpler and making people to have greater value. Of course, a very good case study like when we came on board the GSM market in 2001. There are products then that people buy at high cost and whatever. Some of the phone people bought as high as 30,000. Then it was those 30,000 was enough to buy a plot of land. If they dash you today, those products, you almost throw it on the person that dashed you. The triumph of this world, this gem, and it shows the way those products were evolving over the years, and the issue of having audio, listening to radio, then the issue of video came in, then Android technology came on board. So I think being able to improve and being able to meet up with the demand of the day speaks volume about the kind of brand that we project. And for those of us in the knowledge space, that what we do is we render services. And then when you are able to punch the problem on the head and bad solution, and right there on the spot, you see people exclaiming and like, woo, this is what I've been looking for. You just hit the nail on the head. I think this statement solves my problem. And they will come over and over again. And one thing I have learned over time is that when you do good, people they hype you too much. Yes, by the time they are discussing you with people, in fact, because of the solution they have got, they become a loyalist. They say more about you than even the product. But if it's on the other way, they will also destroy that product more than expected. So that appears to be the way human a lot of people do their things. They take it too far, either to the positive or to the negative. So I think it's good as the year has started. Of course, January is coming to an end today. 1 out of 12 is a way. It's good to look at what am I doing right? How do I improve? What have I been doing wrong? How do I get to right the wrong? And of course, do more than we've been doing before. Plunge into areas that we know can benefit our clients, and it's going to be a win-win situation because when they get value, they pay, and they keep coming back as long as they keep getting value. Thank you very much.
thank you. And which, of course, is why I was kind of sharing the types of repositioning, because a lot of people lack insight and education into this. So we talked about the image repositioning, which is most times what tilts to the branding exercise a lot of people witness. We talked about the product repositioning, and I love the way Derry actually did justice with practical examples. And then the third one is the intangible repositioning. When we look at that, intangible repositioning simply means that you want people to get to the same product, but a different market this time around. The same product, different market, target market. And the intangible, most of the time, um, as the word says, intangible, intangible repositioning. It's, it's because it's still the same product, you know. Your, your entry strategy is quite different, you know. And then the fourth one is the tangible, which most times is a different market or a different product. And that, of course, must fit into the offer. That's most times even leading to road that has not been traveled or is less traveled, you know. And these are elements that we all need to master. You know, I love the because, and I probably will also ask Pachom, and I'll come back to this question. I want to say it down, but let me ask Pachom that you answer. And the question I want to ask Derry after Pachom is this. You know, now looking at the success or the ability that you've been able to, you know, do like a product repositioning, you know. Now, what perspective or horizon does that paint to you based on business growth? Because I'm sure if you had like 10 things to do before and you now out of one had 1.1, 1.2, one can only imagine what you're looking at with 2 to 10. Because if they should have subs, only God knows where you're going to open your account next. So let me ask Pachom this question, right? And in the spirit of repositioning your brand or repositioning our brand, right? What would be your counsel to people out there in terms of not feeling shortchanged or left out? Because I think there's a lot of discipline. Listening to what Sola said, listening to what Daria said, there's going to be a lot of discipline and patience involved in repositioning your brand, because it is not repositioning brand, it is repositioning your brand. And we are at different curves. Let's hear from Kwachon. Over to you.
Okay. Wow, this is a lot. I even feel like saying, "Oh, let's just skip to dairy," because I'm even learning from all of you. I'm really learning a lot. I would say I would say one thing is that since we're like so okay, please can you skip? My baby is crying. Please let Dairy answer the question. I'll come back, please, please.
Okay, no problem.
I'm just
Okay.
Okay, so I would the question you asked me about you know, having to do, like, of course your plate is already full, as in even as a brand, your plate is already full, but like you're not having to, like, let me say, reposition by adding and all those things and all that. One thing I have noticed is in you, rebranding doesn't necessarily translate to immediate increase in your revenue to start with. In fact, most likely you're probably spending first to rebrand. And why do I say this? People always need a mental break when you need to, like, let me say, rebrand. And when I say a mental break, is you give people that time to forget whatever it is you were known for, or you, as in, you are trying to de-emphasize and move on to maybe something or add something. So it means that in the first, like, let me say, depending on the timeline you create for yourself, you may need to pause on pushing certain products or pushing old products out You may need to pause on the advertisement of whatever it is. And why will you even be rebranding in the first place? I always say intelligent people always know when a product has climaxed and you need to start, giving that product babies. Because if you don't, and Mr. Olushola said it, like you would be extinct. So before your product even reaches its apex, you should first ask yourself, oh, do I keep wanting to push this product and continue to make money? And one day suddenly I can't make money from it. Or do I want to say, oh, this is probably the optimal of this product. It's time for me to, like, let me say, get something else. The only reason why you're probably rebranding is so that you can have a better outlook, better revenue, and better whatever in the economics. So you should know that you need to pause and do your work in terms of you appearing as the only sensible choice for the next thing you want to do. And how do you first do that? I always say, start to push out mass education in that line. Let people start to see you in that light, like see you in that light so much that they forget whatever it is you are probably even pushing before. Maybe not forget, but like that is not the first thing you think about when you come to them. Like they now start thinking about that present thing. I think that is it in practical. And it will mean that you will have to probably to reduce your advertising, to reduce your revenue for the previous thing, so you can start pushing on this new thing. Now, in terms of you adding extra things to your plate, just know that in your rebranding, especially where probably is a branch out product and you still want to maintain the existing product, I would say they will end up getting to that point that they are both generating the same revenue for you as maybe even at par, or even like as an increase your revenue overall. But please be contented with first reducing the revenue from one, so you can push the second one, so it can grow to where you want it to grow to. Then you can push both of them at once without having conflicting brand interest and all those things. I think that is one of the ways I would suggest that people do this kind of things. Don't, because what I'm saying this is I've done otherwise before in such a way that, oh, I'm trying to push something new and I'm still, doing the same level of advertisement for something old. And people are just pretty confused because they're not sure of, like they're just confused in their head of what's this brand saying per time. So let people be very clear about what your brand is saying per time, and like just stay consistent with it until that brand becomes an household name. It's like, let me say an NBC now. If they want to push the narrative of take Coke after every this thing, they will push it so much, not because they don't have Fanta and all those things, but that is the narrative they're trying to push for Christmas. Oh, buy Coke with your food and all those things. Their Fanta is still selling, but that's the brand they want to promote at that particular time, or they want to be seen for, right? And they obviously have their reasons for it. So I think that's just it. Don't be scared of, oh, I'm rebranding and my sales is dropping, I still want to be. No, just stop, as in educate. Let people see you for that brand, then you start making your money from that brand.
Thank you so much. I don't know if Patron is back, but you really opened people's minds and eyes. Patron, are you back?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay, let's hear from you.
Should I go on?
Yes,
Okay,
please.
so repositioning, as I said, I've learned a lot from these two great speakers and you as well. And then knowing also that there are 4 different types of repositioning. For me, I see repositioning as growth, because there comes a point where you've reached like a certain level with your product, with the amount of money, and you want to now create another product or another image, depending on why you want to do it. As she said, it's not colors, it's not logo, it's not all of those things. It's way more, value the knowledge. So for me, I see it as you need to ask yourself why you want to even reposition yourself. What is taking you to that? What's taking you to that? Is it to bring in another product? Is it to create an existing product? Because at times we humans, we get bored. That's what I've come to realize about the human mind. We get bored. We do get bored easily. you're thinking of, and then at times our mind rushes a lot on what to do. So I would say it's growth. It keeps growing, and as she said a lot, know why you're doing it, and make sure that product is bringing in the amount of the same money the first one is doing. It's not worth if it's not bringing in that money, even if it's knowledge or skills or whatever you're adding to it. Let it be adding value to the product, or as it is. So I would say it's growth for me, and I've learned a lot from all of you, seeing it from another perspective. At the same time, you need to know why you're doing it, not because everybody is doing it, and how you go about it. So to me, it entails a lot. As I said, it's your brand. You in the beginning, I said, once you stop growing, your brand and everything around you dies. So those are the things you need to ask yourself in a line. Like, the advice I'll give to anybody, as she said, there are a lot of questions you need to ask as you go, but it's needed. It's very much needed in your business, in your counsel, or whatever you're doing. It's actually needed. Thank you.
So let's hear parting shot. Olushola, let's hear a parting shot. Jamie and parting shot.
Thank you very much. I think Dr. Diri has done a good job with this topic today. As she started talking, what just dropped my mind talking about the life cycle of a product. So the reason why people are rebranding could be the fact that that product has actually plateaued and needed to be reworked, reinvented in order to be reinjected to the market. Yes, and just like Kwachom said, the issue of being bored, when it has a new face, it has a new taste, has a new approach, even though the old thing, the old wine in the new bottle. So I think these are some of the things. As an individual, as a person, we have to also rebrand our life. What are we doing? And we are not doing well. So what are we doing well? We need to be better on. Because whether we like it or not, as individuals, our life is out there for people to see, learn from, emulate, or reject, as the case may be. So what we do with our life also goes a long way. It may not be given a definition of branding or rebranding, but I tell you, the way we go about it matters a lot. For those of us in the service space, we all need to know that we need to step up and offer better service. And rebranding is somehow inevitable because whether it is named that way or not, you are not the only player. There are competitors who are ready to take over your customer. In fact, they are not that they are taking over your customer. When the customer receives a superior attention somewhere, they gravitate towards that environment. So I think that's what I want to say. Let's learn to do better. When we do better, like Gary said, we may not get the result immediately, but I tell you, surely and steadily, it will get to the earrings and the view of people who comes around to patronize. And once they patronize us, they begin to spread the news everywhere. So that's what I want to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Let's hear from Darren. Parting shot.
Okay, so yeah, as in great submissions this morning. So my parting shot will be that first, understand your reason for rebranding. Don't rebrand because your friend has changed their logo or their color and they seem so fanciful. There's only as much as the outward can sustain you. You can't fool people twice. You can't say, oh, I repackage. Is more like I say, oh, I'm increasing the price of my course because I'm rebranding or I'm adding stuff to it or whatever it is I say I'm doing to it. I can probably fool the next set of people that buy it at the higher price and everything like that. But guess what? They get there and they say that whatever, you've not added value. And value may not necessarily be content. It may be support you're offering on that particular coaching program or something on that course. You've not added value. Look, all your rebranding is going to go to waste because the bottom line is in value addition when you are rebranding. Value addition. Don't ever forget that.
Thank you for that, Pachum.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Cutting short, I would say value. I keep saying this value is very important. It's very, very important. She has said it. It's beyond the colors, it's beyond the logo, it's beyond the look. If the old product is not giving value, even if you rebrand, you're still going to give out you're not going to give out anything reasonable. So know the reason why, understand what you're doing, what's the aim, the objective, why. As you said, there are 4 types. Pick the one that you think is very valuable to you and add more value to it. Work around it, and you would see why. As she said, it's not a one-day process. It takes a long time to see the results. So at the same time, you have to be patient to get what you want to get in repositioning your brand. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that's it. There you have it. If you're thinking about growing your brand or thinking about something your brand has been experiencing this as a dose of doctor's prescription, sinking, soaking, do everything you can. This episode is something you must watch over and over again. Share with your friends and others. It will do them good. I promise you, they will begin to explore more rather than staying with limited options. Rebrand, reposition, anything you have to do to get better. This is your year of no limits. Thank you. We'll be here tomorrow, God willing. I'll have another great time. Thank you, Denry. Thank you, Lushola. Thank you, Pacho. As we say our good days on the show, you know how we do it. And we're doing that at the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
It's always a great morning on the Good Morning Education Show. Bye.
Bye.